And now it's time for the real estate debate, where we debate the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. Let's welcome today's panelists. Guest number 1, Steve Ploetz, realtor at Century 21. Guest number 2, Max Folkers, realtor and owner for Remax Pacific. Guest number 3, Scott Ryan, realtor at Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage. And guest number 4, Courtney Costello, realtor at Pacific Sotheby's La Jolla.
And we are live on Facebook, not as live on Channel 6, but the action still all happened right here. Welcome to the Real Estate Debate, where we debate the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. Fantastic panel here today. Let's go around for the livers. Max Folkers is here from Remax. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing great. Glad to be
Max
here.
from Remax. It's easy to remember. He did that on purpose, folks.
Remax, Max.
He can never leave. Steve, you don't have those kind of golden handcuffs with Century 21, do you?
Steve Ploetz from Century Ploetz.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work for you. Thanks for being here, my friend. Courtney Costello, how are you doing, darling?
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And your name has nothing to do with your brokerage either.
No, it doesn't actually.
But that's okay.
But you can call me Cece.
And and Costello Estates. We
Exactly.
like that.
Exactly.
Scott Ryan, Coldwell Banker International.
What's happening?
How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man.
All right. Last time we saw you was in a very nice house in La Jolla.
Yeah, it was. Hasn't sold yet, but hopefully soon.
Well, in that $4 to $5 million price range, you know.
I've had 5 showings, so it's not bad.
That's good.
Can't
That's
complain.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Time to agree or disagree with today's topic. Topic number 1 is, if you live in a good school district, it's better to sell your house before school gets out so you can avoid the competition in the summer months. There was a Zillow article, actually it wasn't a Zillow article, it was an article in Inman that was data from Zillow saying that the first 2 weeks of May were the best time to sell. We're going to start with ladies first, of course. Courtney, agree or disagree?
Well, I always like to say, if we're looking at, as a personal, transaction, what our clients need in their own, personal plan in their life, then of course it comes down to what's best for them with selling and buying. But when it comes down to answering this question, I would say that I have to agree with the fact that whenever you're dealing with coming out of the winter months, okay, so we're coming out of the winter months, you're dealing with a lot of buyers that actually are serious buyers and looking in the market. So you're also up against the seller's market. So you're still coming in with 7 offers that are offering on this property. Only one can get the property. So you're still left over with 6 real-time buyers that are ready to buy and actually ready and willing, which is what you need to sell a home. So coming into the new months and the new year, you're coming into the springtime. So you're coming into, I believe starting in March is actually a decent time to start listing as well, because so between March and May is actually the ideal time. And then coming into summer, of course, you're going to have an array of more buyers coming on the market that are traveling from around the world, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready and willing and they're buyers that are serious. They're just coming to look and see if something, sparks their interest to get the process started. But typically coming out of the winter months, you are going to have a better chance at selling your home at a higher price because more people are competing for that property.
Gotcha. More buyers, less sellers.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Scotty, what do you think about this one?
I don't know why everyone keeps getting all their stats from Zillow. I mean, everything is according to Zillow these days, but it depends on where you're at in San Diego. I mean, and what the inventory levels are like and what your personal plan is. Like, you live in a great school district and that's great, but are you ready to pull your kids out of that school? So where are you going to move to? Are you moving to a different part of San Diego?
So
are you
let me
moving
clarify.
out of the area?
Let me clarify. So none of those things are a consideration.
Okay.
Let's say you don't have any kids.
Okay.
But you live in and own a home in a good school district.
Okay.
So that's part of the appeal to the property. Because
Right.
there are a lot of people who buy
Right.
properties in good school districts, not because they have kids, but because they know that's a good place to be. It's a safer
Right.
investment, right?
Good community.
So will it be better, and of course better to sell, meaning will you get a higher price? Will you have more of an advantage if you sell before school gets out versus it waiting until the summer?
I think there is some correlation when it comes to schools and people timing their moving with, when school gets out. But if didn't have any kids and the schools weren't a big thing for me, my biggest focus would be what is the condition of my house? Because that's what's going to get you the biggest return on your money, not timing the market or trying to figure out, hey, should I list right when school is getting out? But, what does it look like? Is it fixed up, all set to go? And typically, yes, there's a cyclical time of year where you're going to get more money for your home. And typically, like Courtney said, those months are in March and April. I think May is kind of too late, to be honest with you.
I mean, March, April are like
last debate we
ideal.
did, we talked about Scripps Ranch, like the highest, numbers that people were getting were actually in the months of March and April, not in May or June. So I wouldn't necessarily time it with when school's getting out. Even if I lived in a great school district, I'd focus on, hey, what is the market like around me? What are my competitors, other sellers in the marketplace, and what is the condition of my home? Because right now in this market, if we're talking about right now, top condition homes are getting the most money, regardless of what school district you're in.
Okay.
True.
So Scotty says it's about condition. Max, what do you think about that?
Disagree with the statement. I agree with you guys. May's too late right now. In San Diego, and that was a national study, in California or other warm climes, those peak months start earlier. We're not in Chicago, we're not in Minnesota where everybody's huddled, staying warm in the snow until February, March, April, and finally May is when it comes out. And so I think that takes into account the bigger national housing picture. And you made a great point. All real estate's hyper-local. Okay. In San Diego, last 2 years, March and April have been the top performing months. I think May is too late. And then specifically as it applies to the school question, it was interesting. We were talking before this. I just had a call. Online lead was inquiring about an area in Bay Park, and they had just had a baby, and they were excited about schools. And I was just like, whoa, wait. You just had a baby, and you're already thinking about schools. I'm like, you got 6 years before your kid's even in school. So I think that schools are on consumers' radar really, really, really early on. It's not something where they're deciding in May, June, July, oh my gosh, we got to get into this school district. They're looking years in advance. And so I don't think that plays into effect.
That's a really, really good point, actually, because you're 100% right. In most cases, I think, unless it's a relocation. Or smaller percentage of the transactions. Mr. Ploetz.
So the three of you, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The three of you all think to list it sooner rather than later. Is that accurate? Is that fair?
But it still comes down to what's best for the client at the
No,
end
of course.
the day.
Yeah, without a doubt. Obviously, it comes down to the client's situation. It comes down, but I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. Scott, you?
Yeah. Like
Sooner
I
rather
said,
than later.
I think it's more of a personal need and looking at the competition and what else is for sale. I mean, if you get towards the summer months, there's going to be probably more homes on the market than there are back in February, March, and April. So and I think the market's just as hot in those months as it is perhaps in May or June.
Because
I feel like we're being set up here.
Definitely setting you up.
That is correct.
it's hard for me to make a sweeping statement about every market.
Certainly.
So what I can talk about is this market. And I think the biggest challenge has been, as you talked about when you talked about what's going on in the market, is that anybody that has stayed in their house the last couple years has made money. You've sat in your house,
Absolutely.
you've made money. And the county of San Diego last year, countywide, it made appreciation like 5 or 6%. So I realize that that's not linear. You're not making, if it's 6% and there's 12 months, you're not making 0.5% per month on your house, but you did make 6% in the year. So I'm yet to hear any great arguments about how the market is changing, about how the market is plateauing, about how the demand is really high, the supply is really low. In my opinion, don't sell it, but that's not an option in this hypothetical situation. If the data says, again, it's not linear, but you're making another 0.5% by waiting another month, if I'm selling a $500,000 house, you're saying I make another $2,500 by sitting in my house for a month? My argument is wait. Now, you run the risk. I think as realtors, we have a tendency to say, hey, look, I can tell you what I can get you in your house today, and therefore I can get you out with this dollar amount today, and I don't know what the future holds. But I'm not seeing any economic signs that show any great change. Wait it out.
That's why it comes back to condition.
Well, and I agree with you, though, on the point. It's not linear. I mean, you're seeing if you look at the lowest amount of inventory is right now. For the listing presentation I'm going on today,
It's even 3%
I
lower
pulled the
than last
stats.
year.
It is low. Yeah, it is
3%
low
lower.
right now. So it is a great time to get, a few offers on your house, and you're gonna make more than that half a point in just your negotiating your leverage. Whereas I think if you look in the summer, I mean, we all, at least I saw it, once you got into the summer and early fall, it slowed down. Stuff sat on the market, and I think you really hit on an interesting point that I think the majority of our appreciation happens in that first 6 months.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation to have. I mean, certainly you're going to sit with somebody today and have the conversation. The inventory is the lowest I've ever seen it. To which a devil's advocate argument is, well, who says it can't go lower? Who says that there can't be even more demand of people that try to jump into this market, and even more sellers that say, it's not really the right time?
Yeah, but if there's a dozen offers on a property and only one got it.
Yeah, what's
11
the difference?
is plenty for me.
Totally agree. And it's time for us to dive into topic number 2, as we are still shooting this for television. And there will be a little bit of extra for the live folks here in a second. But let's jump into topic number 2, which sort of goes, Steve sort of already answered this one. Question of the week.
You don't get to talk anymore.
You're done. You're done.
Fired.
This is a real question from, her name was not Ellen, but she was in Spring Valley. And she said, we're about to retire and our home is almost paid off. They bought it for $250,000. It's now easily worth $500,000. I think it might be worth more than that. We think we could get $2,500 a month in rent. Possibly get more than that too. These are round numbers. Should we sell it or should we rent it? Which is a smarter move? Now, these are people who are about to retire. I mean, they're a year away from retiring. The home is paid off in like 6 more payments. So what they're trying to figure out is, do we cash in on this hot market, take the money and run, or do we make the long play and go for the $2,500 a month?
Are they moving out of state or staying local, or are they going to buy or rent, or what's their?
They're staying local.
And also, do they have an incredible retirement fund that they already have to grab from? So it comes down to, yes, you're in a seller's market right now, so you're going to maximize on your home right now. Absolutely. We can't predict where the market's going to be in the coming years, but we can see where it is right now. We can see, kind of the traditional way that it's been laid out the past few years. Well, where you're going right now, you don't know. We can't predict that, but we can tell you right now you're going to maximize your home if the condition is where it needs to be able to maximize that price for the amount of offers that are going to come in. But at the same time, if they don't need that retirement money, then they should keep it as an income producing property and keep that real estate here in San Diego and bring it and put it down, give it to their children or give it to their grandkids, however they want to go about it. So I think it's more of a personal decision. If they want to maximize and take the money right now, knowing the market's hot, great, let's do that. If they don't need the money, then I would probably suggest keeping the property.
They don't need the money.
If they don't need the money, keep the property.
For the long play.
Keep the real estate, keep it in the family, allow that opportunity and income producing asset to be a part of the family portfolio.
That's an interesting idea. Scotty, I know you got something on this one.
Yeah, so I guess to add to what she's saying, you need to look at your tax consequences, because you get, if you're married, I would assume they are, you get a $500,000 tax, capital gains tax exemption. So if they need to increase their portfolio cash-wise and put some more money in their long-term investments, getting that capital gains break is good. So 2 out of the last 5 years, you could actually rent it for 3 more years, assuming we're on this appreciating market, is still going up, sell at that third year and still take that $500,000 gain,
that's a good point. So still capture the
So
exemption.
you can actually get the best of both worlds. You can capture some rent for 3 years, assuming the market is still trending upward, because you always want to sell that property when the market is high if you are going to cash out. But along the way, you create 3 more years worth of income from the rents and then sell the property and still take that $500,000 gain tax-free. If you continue to rent that property for all these years, now that property turns into investment property and totally changes your tax,
your tax consequence
scenario
down
at the
the
end.
road.
So
That's a really good idea.
yeah, and I kind of did the math too a little bit. I mean, I'm assuming you sold it for $500,000, they got 6 payments, it's paid off. After you pay realtor commissions and everything else, your gain is really about 20. I did math, it was like around $22,000 per year, with the rents that you're getting. But you got to take some of that off for paying a property manager, your property taxes, maintenance, any
insurance.
Yeah, and then you do the same thing, and you cash out, put the money with a wealth advisor. Assuming you get 7% return on your money, which is probably around what people most get.
In the market.
The numbers are pretty close. It was about 30,000 roughly at that. So, but if you keep the property, you're getting cash every month. If you put the money in stocks and mutual funds, that sort of thing, it's just kind of growing over a long period of time. So cash flow, depending on their needs, is really kind of an important thing.
That's the main
Exactly.
But the kicker is really the $500,000 capital gains.
thing. Yeah,
If you need the cash and you want to put that, you can get the
That's
best.
such a
of both worlds.
huge exemption to be able to take advantage of. One of the best parts about owning real estate that you live in is that you get to take advantage of that when it does go up in value. Max, you're an investor. I'm sure
Certainly.
you've come across this question for your own
You know
portfolio
what?
many times.
I love this question. I mean, this is a fun question to answer, and I think where we all add some value as realtors, not just that we can necessarily answer all the question, but that we've got the resources, that we've got those tax planners, we've got those financial advisors who can look at that overall picture. I mean, gosh, I started thinking lots of different ways. Well, yeah, what if you sell? Because you're right, you want to take that tax-free dollars, those off the table, or you could at least. And what about if they needed some of the money, plop that into an investment?
Exactly.
Buy an investment property with a portion of it. That way you are still invested. You can leverage some of that money at, historically low rates still. A lot of that has to do with, okay, what's your family situation? Do you have somebody, are you doing estate planning? Are you looking at leaving something to your family that's going to appreciate? You may be able to sink money in to an investment property and actually get some cash flow where you've got sort of the combination of you're bringing in some money and you're getting that appreciation. So, it's tough to come up with one solution. I think it really depends on, as we all know, kind of sitting down with the clients and understanding what their overall picture is.
Yeah, but there are a lot of options, a lot of good options.
A lot of great options.
One
It's great to have
solution.
equity.
One solution.
One answer?
One answer. You love always, you love never. I know that's what you love. Never sell California real estate if you can afford to do it. Now, it doesn't make sense to always do it. That's my opinion. And there's a variety of different opinions. If you need the money, still don't sell it. Because everybody needs the money. And everybody that is looking at retirement and thinking about, I'm 65, I've got my house almost paid off, I am getting out of the workforce, I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. If you can keep the property, keep the property. And believe me, I understand it doesn't always make financial sense. You want to sell a small condo in order to leverage into a nice big primary residence. But we were talking in the dressing room about South Park. And I have so much admiration for Max, who is listing his mother-in-law's property. However, what we talked about, what we talked about is that talking South Park about how the numbers have changed and how we're talking about property that's built in 1920s, listed for $1 million, and it's 1,500 square feet. And there was a time when somebody said, "Hey, I can make $80,000 by selling this property right now." And had they not sold it, they'd be going today, "I could make $1 million right now."
Steve wants people to jump off cliffs today.
I'm just saying.
There's thousands of people in San Diego who can tell that story. I meet them all the time, and they're all just like,
Holy moly! I mean, like we talked about in the first question about people that have stayed in their house. If you've sat in your house the last few years, you've made money. And yes, it's cyclical, so it goes up and down.
Of course.
But we all know people that shouldn't have sold real estate and did, and should have held on to it, and it would have been hard, and they don't know how they would have done it. And what they say today is, had I kept that property, I'd be retired today.
it's true. It's
So-
true. All right.
I just don't know if that's going to happen in Spring Valley. But
That's the thing.
So let's buy real estate.
I think, yeah. What you're saying makes
La
sense.
Costa in La Jolla, maybe.
I don't know that many
Actually,
people.
I'm marketing
I'm one of the few people who sold a house, and I'm glad I did. So I sold in 2006. Here's my thing with this, and what I told Ellen was very specifically, either you're one or the other. Don't be a landlord by circumstance. Don't have one rental property. Either you are a real estate investor or you are not. So if you are, then you need to look at the whole thing and try to maximize. Maybe you do need to sell this place, but not so that you can take the money and put it in your 401k, so you can take the money and you can go buy 5 different $500,000 houses with 20%
Right.
down,
Right.
and actually have a portfolio, and things start to make sense now. You can buy your light bulbs in bulk and all that stuff.
Right.
Okay, like either one or the other. You can't be like, oh, let's see if this goes well, because now you're in retirement and you're taking a huge risk. You get one bad tenant, destroys the property, property values go down. You spent $40,000 fixing it, and you just lost $100,000 in equity, and now you're like, what in the hell are we doing? And like, I've seen that happen.
Yep.
I've watched that happen. I've talked to those people. So, why take that kind of risk? If you're going to take the risk, you need to spread it out.
Yep.
Not just in one house where you hope the nice man makes his payment every month, and then everything will be okay.
And buy in the best areas that also have the highest demand
Correct.
for rentals. So you go buy a rental in Encinitas right now, you're going to get a renter the next day.
Yep.
No problem. So also purchasing smart in the locations too.
Even if it's a 1-bedroom.
And-
Yeah,
and to that,
exactly.
I would
Right
say,
They still rent, exactly.
we know the good neighborhoods now. But there was a time when there were areas that were not good neighborhoods. San Marcos, up in North County, they didn't have great schools. Now their schools are 9s and 10s.
Yep.
Everybody wants to move to San Diego. And my opinion is, where are they going to go? We're running out of places to build unless you want to jam more houses in off the 56 freeway.
Right.
I suspect that they will go to East County, that the schools will improve in those areas. May take 10, 20 years.
We're at the beginning of retirement here, Steve.
They're planning on living really long.
Steve. So I know what you're saying, and I think you're right, and that's the reason why young people should buy a house as soon as they can, because pretty much you can't go wrong.
Yeah,
You can
well,
keep the
get
income.
in, and that's your opportunity to leverage up, because it's only getting more and more expensive, as you're saying, and gosh, the amount of times you hear that conversation, well, interest rates are going up, and that's going to put downward pressure on the prices. Like, so what? It's still going to cost you the same,
Until the sun
Exactly.
starts
It
setting in a
weighs out.
different area and the weather changes. like-
Exactly. People are going to keep coming to San Diego.
Until that happens, this is still an unknown gem worldwide. I mean, it's becoming more known
Oh yeah,
worldwide.
the number of international buyers.
This is why I
that
tell
are now
people
coming in.
we're less expensive than LA and a lot less expensive than San Francisco. So what
And
are our
way
options?
better.
And less traffic,
better.
less headaches. I had a first-time buyer I've been working with who's low-end buyer, is probably like in the $350 range, and he told me the other day kind of wanted to pull the reins back on looking at property because his friends have been telling him that the market's overinflated and that prices are going to drop. And I said to him, how far low do you think the entry level can actually get in San Diego? It can't get any lower than it really is from an affordability standpoint when you talk an entry level condo.
If he's at $350 budget and he
Unfortunately,
sees
it's true.
anything he can write an offer on, he needs to do it right now.
Yeah.
You're right. There's a million different if-then scenarios you could go in and try to dissect, like, all right, what's
Exactly.
the most economic efficient if you need money this way or that way? But I wanted to zoom out on it because most people, if you give them all those numbers, they just can't digest it and make a decision about it because you're asking them to pick a micro direction. So I told her to pick a macro direction. Like either you're
Right.
going to be a property owner, investor, or you're not. You're going to take that money, and that's the safe thing to do, especially in Spring Valley. No offense at all, but that's not like the hot area of San Diego real estate, right?
Like I said,
But all
sell
of a
there
sudden-
and purchase an Encinitas or something.
Yeah, or multiple units.
Or
Is-
multiple
yeah, I
units.
was going to say,
Yeah.
I love multi-unit right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a big one,
I mean,
yeah.
just
Because a lot of people want to live with their mom or live with whoever, but they don't want to live in the same home, but they want to share the same wall and be close. So
I love you, Mom.
We want to be close, but not that close. You need to have your own
Let me go
bathroom.
on national television
Yes.
saying, no, Mom, I love you.
If Ellen in Spring Valley disagrees with Steve and she wants to sell her property, just have her call me.
Well,
Are you
it's-
saying that Ellen can stay with you?
Do you have an extra unit, Scotty? So I encourage her to do that. I encourage her to do that because I said, this is not the time of your age to do this. I don't think. It doesn't make. I mean, maybe when you're younger and you have more time to like build a portfolio out, pay some things down, but to start a portfolio at the beginning of
In your
retirement,
retirement.
just doesn't sound like the. You want to travel, you want to do that kind of stuff. Take your tax-free money off the table. Plus, with this one particularly, just renting this one, I think makes no sense because the tax basis is only $250K. That's what they bought it for. So if you, and like Scott said, you rent it for more than 3 years, and all of a sudden you flipped everything. You've lost a huge tax advantage for another depreciation advantage, which is cut in half by your purchase price.
Yeah.
So it's just not an ideal situation to hang on to this one, Steve.
I tell you, if I can throw one last wrinkle, one of the discussions I've been having with my folks who are in their 70s, and they would disagree that this is not the time. They love investing in stuff. And one of the things that we talked about was, a multi-unit or basically a single-family home with the option of a studio for Airbnb, and they absolutely love that idea. They love the idea of a project, number one, something to do that they can get invested in, but then also the rental income, and it becomes a vacation home for them when they come out, and I've now gone down that path with a couple of different people where it's sort of a multi-use, and they actually enjoy the idea of having new people come in to the house and not necessarily share a kitchen, but from all over the world you get to interact with people. Yeah, kind of almost a B&B with as much input as you want.
But those people are in their 70s. This isn't their first investment. They've been doing it for a long time.
Certainly,
right?
certainly.
And it's something that gets, and that's what I mean. So they're on that side. So it's
They're
go this way or
experienced
go
with
that way.
Right,
Like,
right.
get into
No,
it,
you're right,
study
you're
it,
right. Good point.
look at it carefully, know it, live it, breathe it, or don't get in there.
Right.
Because there's sharks in there, man. I mean, San Diego real estate market, investors are sharks, brothers and sister. They are. I mean, there is no niceness out there in that game. That game is ruthless. And
That's why we got to bring heart back to real estate, y'all.
And what a great way to close. You guys have been amazing. We're out of time, but this has been a fantastic discussion. I really
Thank
appreciate y'all
you.
coming in today.
Thank you.
You got it.
And of course, thank you guys so much for coming in today. Really, really appreciate it. Fantastic real estate discussion about the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. That's how we do here on the Real Estate Debate. Of course, we'll be back in next month, same time, same channel. We'll see you then.